Hey drivers, Orlando Cruz here. August is the hottest month of the year, and we decided to focus on fatigue. Fatigue is something every commercial driver will experience at some point of their careers. This video will help you recognize the symptoms of fatigue and how to safely react. Some drivers have been driving for a very long time, and they'll look at this video and probably realize to themselves that fatigue, I know what to do and I know how to recognize when I'm tired. But constant reminders are necessary. They're necessary not only for work, but also while you're time off. August is the hottest month of the year. A lot of activities are happening with families and gatherings and going to the beach. And sometimes drivers decide to sacrifice their rest time in order to participate in those activities. But you, as a professional driver, must understand that it is your responsibility to protect yourself, protect the company, and also protect the public. As always, be safe. Take care.
Driver fatigue has serious and often overlooked implications. For example, just a short while ago, a semi-truck cruising 20 miles over the speed limit smashed into a passenger vehicle. The accident left one passenger dead and another severely injured. The truck driver, who'd been awake for 28 hours, might have prevented the accident by slowing his vehicle to the posted speed of 45 miles per hour. However, the truck was found to be traveling at 65 miles per hour. The National Transportation Safety Board investigated and determined the root cause of the crash to be fatigue. Sleep deprived by 28 hours, the truck driver's reaction time was equivalent to an intoxicated driver with a .10 blood alcohol level, a level that is above the legal limit in all 50 states. In this lesson, we'll talk about the effects of fatigue on driving and help you to avoid being behind the wheel when you get drowsy. Fatigue affects our health and safety, and it's a major problem for professional drivers because it often contributes to or directly causes accidents. The awareness of our surroundings and ability to perform safely are affected by our level of sleepiness or fatigue. Fatigue is most likely to occur between midnight and 6 a.m. A fatigued driver loses some basic and enormously important skills, such as judgment, perception, and reaction time. If you're fatigued, you may not be able to judge clearances or gaps, and that can lead you to take dangerous risks. You may not even be able to judge your own speed or the speed of others. When you're fatigued, your depth perception becomes very inaccurate, distorting your driving environment. A fatigued driver often misjudges speeds and distances, which can become deadly. A fatigued driver reacts more slowly to sudden events. Even though you may know what to do to avoid a potential accident, you won't be able to respond quickly enough to do so. Tired drivers report the ability to see a hazard and feel the need to step on the brakes, but are unable to move their foot quickly enough. So what causes fatigue? Fatigue, or drowsiness, is often brought on by lack of sleep or exercise, improper diet, performing long and tedious tasks like driving long distances, or even an illness. Many medications cause fatigue, especially cold remedies and antihistamines for allergies. The fact is that you have control over most of these causes, which means you can greatly reduce or even eliminate your own fatigue and become a safer driver. Professional drivers are an at-risk group for fatigue driving. Driving long hours in itself can cause boredom, highway hypnosis, and sleepiness. Also, many drivers' hours have them on the road during the evening hours when most individuals' body clocks are winding down, preparing for sleep. A National Highway Traffic Safety Administration study found that 35% of fatal truck crashes occurred between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., a time frame that most people would be asleep. Additionally, if drivers do not receive quality rest each day, at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they can build up sleep debt, which leads to cumulative fatigue. About 168 million drivers a year have admitted feeling drowsy behind the wheel, and over half of them have actually fallen asleep at the wheel. Of course, falling asleep at the wheel is dangerous to you and everyone else on the road. A fatigued driver can fall into a mini snooze. Without even being aware of it, the driver falls into a nap that can last for up to 4 or 5 seconds. If you fall asleep at the wheel driving 60 miles an hour for even 1 second, you'll travel 88 feet blindly. When you're in this state of fatigue, you may also imagine that you see things out on the road that aren't there. A dog, a deer, or another person or vehicle. How would you respond to this object? You'd likely swerve quickly to avoid hitting it, potentially losing control of your vehicle and having an accident, all because of a fatigue-related illusion. The signs of fatigue can include heavy, dull eyes, missing gears, moodiness, lack of motivation, frequent yawning, trouble keeping your head up, squirming in your seat, drifting in your lane, daydreaming, sudden inappropriate acceleration or braking. If you notice any of these signs in yourself, be aware that these may indicate fatigue. Pull over to a safe and legal place to park. Take a short rest break to refresh yourself. Don't just gulp down coffee or sodas. They won't correct your fatigue. If, after a short break, you're still feeling fatigued, contact your dispatcher and let them know you need to get some sleep. A 15 to 20 minute power nap might be all you need, or you may need a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. The important point is that if you feel fatigued and you notice that your driving is impacted, don't drive. As a professional driver, you may perform shift work and drive between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., a time frame that we have already identified as risky. You need to understand circadian rhythms, often called your body clock. Your body clock has a natural internal rhythm that regulates heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature. Your normal circadian rhythm would have you sleeping between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. So if you're driving between those hours, you're going to have to face fatigue. There are a few things you can do that we've already talked about to help you fight fatigue. Things such as diet, exercise, and plenty of pre-trip sleep. But if you find yourself driving routinely at night and in the early morning, you may need to shift your sleep cycle. There are various medical aids for doing this. Discuss these types of plans with your doctor. Also, if you shift your sleep cycle to drive at night, don't return to nighttime sleep patterns on the weekends. This will only make the adjustment to night driving more difficult. You may have heard about a problem many people have when sleeping at night. A problem that if left untreated can cost your CDL and also cause you long-term health problems. Drivers suffering from untreated obstructive sleep apnea are 7 times more likely to fall asleep at the wheel. You can see how this would severely affect a driver's ability to safely operate a vehicle. Sleep apnea is a serious, potentially life-threatening condition that is surprisingly common in adults. In short, it's a breathing disorder that briefly interrupts your breathing during sleep. There are 2 types of sleep apnea, central and obstructive. Central sleep apnea, which is less common, occurs when the brain fails to send a signal to the breathing muscles to take a breath. Obstructive sleep apnea is far more common and occurs when air cannot flow into or out of your nose or mouth, even when you're trying to breathe. In a given night, the number of involuntary breathing interruptions, or apneic events, may be as high as 60 or more per hour. These breathing pauses are usually accompanied by snoring between apneic episodes, although not everyone who snores has this condition. Because of the interruptions of breath, sleep apnea can also result in choking sensations. In order to jumpstart your breathing during an event, you'll wake up very briefly. These frequent interruptions of sleep often lead to excessive daytime drowsiness and fatigue. Early recognition and treatment of sleep apnea is important because, in addition to its dangers to you when driving, it may also be associated with irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, heart attack, and stroke. Changing some of your behaviors is an important part of your treatment program, and in mild cases that may be all that is needed. These behaviors include eating, drinking, and sleeping habits. If you're overweight, your sleep can benefit from losing weight. Even a 10% weight loss can reduce the number of your apneic events. If you suspect that you have problems with apnea, you should avoid using alcohol and sleeping pills before going to sleep. They just make the airway to your lungs more likely to collapse during sleep and prolong the sleep apnea periods. Some sufferers of mild sleep apnea experience breathing interruptions only when they sleep on their backs. In such cases, using pillows and other devices that help you sleep on your side can help. Consult with your healthcare provider if you suspect that you may suffer from sleep apnea. Your provider can perform tests and recommend methods to control this disorder. For more information, contact the National Sleep Foundation or visit their website www.sleepfoundation.org or visit the American Sleep Apnea Association website at www.sleepapnea.org. To better manage yourself and combat fatigue, you must take regular breaks and rest. There are 3 federal regulations relating to the hours of service, which determine when you must take these breaks. The 11-hour rule states that no driver shall drive more than 11 hours following 10 hours off duty. These 10 consecutive off-duty hours can be time spent in your sleeper berth. The 14-hour rule says that no driver shall drive for any period after the end of the 14th hour after coming on duty. Remember, on-duty time includes all the time you've been working, not just the time you've been driving. The regulation calls for 10 hours of rest prior to driving to reset your 11 and 14-hour clocks. Besides the 11-hour and 14-hour rules, there are also restrictions on your driving if you've been on duty, driving or not, for any 70 hours in a consecutive 8-day period, or 60 hours in a consecutive 7-day period. At that point, you'll need to take a break and get back into compliance. A 34-hour break will reset your 60 or 70-hour clock. Use your 34-hour break wisely to obtain the rest you need. If you spend your off-duty time partying, working another job, or working around the house, you're not resting, and it can lead to a cycle of fatigue. Remember to rest when you're supposed to rest. If you're fatigued, you're a danger to yourself and others. Remember too, no matter what your logbook indicates, if you feel fatigued while on the road, stop driving and assess whether you need to rest. Driver fatigue is a safety issue of special concern to over-the-road drivers and the people around them. Many commercial motor vehicles often run at night, and the drivers sometimes have irregular and unpredictable work schedules. Most of your mileage is compiled during long trips on interstates and other often tedious highways, where you can easily become bored and almost hypnotized by the road. Even though we commercial drivers are involved in a lower proportion of fatigue-related crashes than regular drivers, the fact is that we drive a great amount of miles, and that means that eventually fatigue may at times become a serious problem for us. In this lesson, we discuss causes of fatigue, how to recognize fatigue, how to work to prevent it, sleep apnea and its effects, and the laws that are designed to improve fatigue management. Bottom line, don't push yourself. If you're drowsy or falling asleep, do something about it. Contact your dispatcher and let them know you're taking a break or that you need some sleep. No load is worth you or someone else getting hurt. Stay safe and alert out there.